Chairman Cruz, Ranking Member Whitehouse, distinguished members of the subcommittee, thank you for the honor of testifying. I'm Scott Walter, president of the Capital Research Center, where we study special interests. It's no accident, as the Marxists say, that China has deep ties to the environmentalist movement. Whatever their intentions, radical climate activists advocate policy after policy that objectively strengthens China and weakens America, whether it's hindering our production of energy, boosting China's energy resilience, or making our supply chains dependent on Chinese inputs. As the report by State Armor I cited documents, the Chinese Communist Party has every incentive to support climate activism in America. Unfortunately, as I also document, China finds willing partners in activist groups like the Rocky Mountain Institute, the California China Climate Institute, and Energy Foundation China. The Energy Foundation scheme is not subtle. It's headed by a former influential Chinese government official and sends money to activists at groups like the Rocky Mountain Institute and the Natural Resources Defense Council. It also sends money to activists in universities like Berkeley, UCLA, and Harvard. But foreign nationals in China aren't the only ones who attack our energy independence and threaten to make it harder for working-class Americans to heat and cool their homes and drive their cars and trucks. Billionaires around the world add to the threat. In Australia, the billionaire Andrew Forrest works with American tort lawyers and groups like the Sierra Club and the Center for Climate Integrity to put a major U.S. energy company out of business through lawfare that bypasses the democratic process. A British billionaire, Sir Christopher Hone, also funds the Center for Climate Integrity, as well as law-breaking radicals at Extinction Rebellion. Then there's the biggest foreign national billionaire working to manipulate America's politics, Hans-Jörg Wyss, who's poured over $650 million into the American left. Recipients have included Earth Justice Legal Defense Fund, Climate Works, and the minority witness's employer, Public Citizen. But Wyss is best known for giving $278 million to the 1630 Fund, a 501c4 operated by Arabella Advisors and called by The Atlantic, quote, the indisputable heavyweight of Democratic Party dark money. 1630 passes along tens of millions of dollars to the League of Conservation Voters and other environmental groups. Then there's the New Venture Fund, to which Wyss has given $82 million, and which is also operated by Arabella. They run the largest dark money network in the country on either side. New Venture has donated over $1 million to Mr. Arkush's Public Citizen, and it also runs the Collective Action Fund. That group pays the for-profit firm Scheer Edling to sue energy companies on behalf of states like Rhode Island and cities like Baltimore, in hopes judges will force policies on our country that majorities of Democrats and Republicans oppose, policies that should be resolved through the political process by voters and their elected representatives, not by private lawyers and their ideologically motivated funders. Climate lawfare in America is also funded by homegrown billionaires, many with the same last name, Foundation. Hewlett and Rockefeller philanthropies stand out, joined by many more like Ford and MacArthur, who provide a handful of climate lawfare groups $500 million a year. Billionaire Michael Bloomberg supports lawfare by paying to install activists in state attorney general offices, hoping they'll sue energy companies and achieve policy changes they can't win through Democratic legislatures. So far, they're mostly losing in the courts, too. The New York AG's case was dismissed with prejudice. Climate lawfare raises ethics issues, too. Contingency fees for firms like Scheer Edling presume they're taking a risk. But are they, if they have prior funding? Did these firms disclose that funding to government clients? If the government clients knew, did they disclose the funding to the public? Another ethics problem. The Climate Judiciary Project runs educational programs for judges about climate change and lawsuits. One observer calls it an effort by the climate tort movement to brief judges on the plaintiffs' cases with supposedly neutral information, yet the speakers come from the plaintiffs' witnesses and amicus brief filers. This effort to capture courts deserves your oversight. If the public knew climate lawfare's cost and its ties to foreign influence, they'd be outraged. I hope this hearing begins to reveal the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Walter, I favor the provisions of the IRA that are being repealed. You're aware of what's going on there, right?
To some degree.
All right. I mean, if all the people you mentioned, all of the folks who you indicted for kind of using Ted Cruz's language, left-wing radical ideas, how do you distinguish between a person whose motivation is to be left-wing Chinese sympathizer and people who just disagree with the fossil fuel industry that climate change, in fact, is real and we have to do something about it? Can you explain to me?
Well, at the beginning of my oral testimony there, I made the distinction between whatever the intentions of various folks may be, they are objectively assisting China in its desire to compete with the United States.
Like the Hewlett Foundation?
Yes.
Seriously, Walter Hewlett, his foundation, you think is in bed with the Communist Party?
Well, that's not what I said, is it? I said that objectively they're aiding the Chinese communists, but I did not say that they themselves were communists.
Right, but what you're doing is denying them the ability to make their own judgment about what's good public policy for the benefit of this country by saying that they're, and this really is how I hear it, dupes of the Communist Party because what they're doing aligns, as you say, with the communists.
Well, they give a good deal of money, for instance, to the Energy Foundation China that the chairman has been discussing, which is run by a former Chinese communist official.
So by virtue, does China have any environmental problems?
It has grave environmental problems, yes.
So if there are some Chinese that want to deal with their environmental problems, and we agree that there are environmental problems, and we also know that climate change can't be solved by one country, and other countries start to do something about it, is that a problem for you?
Well, I have to say that I'm skeptical that former Chinese communist officials are interested in doing anything that would harm their country.
Who are some of the other names? I don't have your statement here that you said are in effect dupes, if I can translate what you're saying, of the Communist Party because their climate agenda, you say, is being funded by them.
I didn't talk about it being funded by them. And what I did explain for, I mean, there are very simple things. Massive U.S. government subsidies for products that use Chinese technology obviously is enhancing the Chinese economy.
Has the U.S. government, through its tax code, ever provided any incentives and tax preferences for the fossil fuel industry?
Yes, a great deal.
And you don't have a problem with that?
Well, I'm not an economist qualified to talk about the relative value of the subsidies, but I don't think that it's remotely deniable that we currently subsidize all sorts of green technology in which China is leading and therefore helping the Chinese. So
the fact that Senator Durbin here has solar panels, does that make him a communist sympathizer?
No, I don't think so, any more than my driving to this hearing today makes me a mass murderer or an accessory to mass murder.
Nation. Mr. Walter, the Climate Judiciary Project tells judges that climate lawsuits are a, quote, unique opportunity for accountability. Would you call that education, or would you call that political indoctrination disguised as training?
Accountability is the standard term used by political activists to try to say, we want to hurt those folks that we're opposed to.
Do you believe Congress should investigate whether these trainings are undermining the impartiality of the judiciary?
Absolutely, Senator.
Thank you. Senator. A final question, Mr. Walter. You're an expert on special interests. When it comes to dark money political funding, where is more of it found, on the left or on the right? What are the biggest funders?
It's considerably more on the left, depending on how you want to define dark money. Oddly enough, people who use the term a lot tend not to define it with any legal precision. But the largest of any such entity, left or right, again, is the vast multi-billion-dollar network run by Arabella Advisors with hundreds of millions of dollars from the foreign billionaire, Mr. Weiss.
And oddly enough, my Democrat colleagues never seem concerned by that massive money on the left, which is considerably larger than the money that is supporting Republicans.